did some time in YA.
Yeah.
And then you end up going to the CDC.
Yeah.
So a couple times you missed what was going on in the streets because
Yeah.
you were in prison.
Yes.
But in prison, there's a lot of stuff going on there as well.
Yes.
As a guy from San Diego, what was the San Diego scene like when you first got? How old were you when you first got to prison?
18, man. The thing about that was that when I first went, I was 18 years old when I got arrested. I turned 19 when I later on in Chino, and the guys was coming from all over the prison to see me because I hadn't turned 19 yet, and they was like, man, this a boy up here that's 18 years old. And they was coming, and I had another partner from the Brims who was up there with me in a place called CRC, and me and Rulon, we was real tight, you know. People thought we was brothers and stuff, and they were coming and looking and saying, damn, you guys is young as hell. But San Diego was not known in the prisons like my older homies, the few co-founders, because I didn't have big homies like these guys have big homies now. It was only a few, and those were co-founders. So I had big homies, but it was like a handful, you know, like Marvin and D Stone and Terry and Donnie, and you could probably name them and stuff on a couple hands or one. But we didn't have big homies. So when I hit the prisons, you know, San Diego was not really acknowledged by these guys from LA because they had a sense of ownership to the Crip and Blood name. As far as they was concerned, it was like it started in LA. We ain't taking nobody else serious, you know, because this is from LA. And that's where, if you listen to the song DJ Quick made called Just Like Compton, well, then that's your answer right there. It is other people that's down and that's fools and that's banging just how you and doing the same thing, you know. And we had to establish ourselves in that because a lot of time they didn't take us serious. So when San Diego really start coming to the pen, it was a lot of demos that we had to put down. And San Diego became really well known. See, in the early 80s in the prisons, San Diego was very well known. So some OGs from LA that tell you about us in San Diego. They, you know, we made met a lot of brothers and made had a lot of relationships up there with brothers who was like, damn, San Diego's like. So, them motherfuckers is with it.
So when you got there and you telling people you're from 40s Crip in San Diego, were people
looking
like, at you like, what?
They was like, 40s? Oh, y'all got a 40s in San Diego? Oh, y'all got a 40s in San Diego? Shit like that, you know. And but they had to be educated because they start finding out that a lot of us was like banging before them, and it was like, that you was banging when? Well, when did y'all start? When did this game back? You bullshitting. Yeah, you know. And then, you know, then we start getting involved in things and stuff too. And it was like, okay, these guys is like with it, you know. So we went through that little era of you know, where we had to, you know,
like validation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where they had to, you know, but because we wasn't no punk. San Diego, one thing about it is I give it up, you know, to the Crips and the Bloods from San Diego. One thing about the Crips and the Bloods from San Diego is that in the prisons, they were well respected. And even the Bloods from San Diego was well respected. It wasn't no taking no back seat to nobody because we recognized that LA started it. But it don't mean that, you know, if you start something that you know any harder than me, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, and a gang's been trying to prove that to each other for centuries. That's why they still feuding, because ain't nobody harder than the next person. You come through, you shoot 2 people, the next day somebody go through and shoot 4. your point still don't never get proven. You just go back and forth thinking and hoping that one day somebody will say, oh, they not playing, we gonna just stop gang banging and just let them bang because we're scared of them now. That ain't gonna never happen. It's just gonna be people going back and forth killing each other forever. You're never gonna prove to me that you're tougher than me and that you harder than me, no matter where you're from. You're never gonna prove that. You know, it's just a vicious fucking cycle, man.
Now, before you got to prison, you also did some YA time. What was it like being? Because I'm assuming when you got to YA, everybody there was mostly from LA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because plus a lot of everyone was mostly from LA.
Yeah.
And then you from San Diego and YA with all these LA guys. What was that like?
Yeah, it was like, damn, you know, these motherfuckers, you know, it was like, they was like, it was like, we was like aliens or something. It was like, they was like looking at somebody who was like them and saying, damn, they're Crips, you know, or they're Bloods, you know, for real, you know. And like I said, they had that right, they had that privilege behavior about themselves where they felt privileged, you know, and it led to some. I've had quite a few fights in there with dudes, you know, from LA, man. I had some fights in there, man, with a lot of people from different LA sets, you know, just trying to stay on that page. Like, hey, man, you got me fucked up, homie. You know, that it was like, damn, you know, because when we hit YA, the neighborhood hit YA with Trey Dog, Boss Hog, Stony D, Bull, Black Ice. Oh man, we hit there with a crew, and every name I just mentioned, rest in peace right now. I mean, all of them except one. But we hit there, you know, with a crew, and it was like they was like, man, these motherfuckers here, you know, San Diego, they with it, you know.
Now, as you mentioned today, the San Diego cars well respected pretty much on any prison yard.
Yeah, back then when we started in the early 80s, back then, because there was a lot of structure and a lot of organizations, you know, the Black Guerrilla Family, the Vanguards, the Consolidated Crip Organization, the UBNs, you know, the Nation of Islam, you know, you had all these different black groups and stuff and organizations and stuff, and everybody was a part of something, so everything had to be, it was just respect, you know.
Do you ever tell the younger homies from San Diego that we paved the foundation in the penitentiary so that when you go now, there is no problem.
Right.
San Diego was well known,
right.
But when you went, you had to
right.
prove.
Exactly. We had to set that up like that because we didn't have it like that. We had to set that up. That's why we joined. A lot of people get at me and they say, wow, why did you join the Consolidated Crip Organization? Because I joined the Consolidated Crip Organization because there wasn't nobody from San Diego up there but me.
Were you the first one, you think, from San Diego to be was CCO?
I believe so. Yeah. I would have to say, yeah. I know a couple more people who joined later on, and that was from San Diego, but I believe I was the first one, because when I look back at it, I know that I was one of the first OGs from my set to even go to prison. You know, most of my homeboys went like a couple of years or 2 or 3 years after me. That was my age. Now, a couple of the co-founders, like Marvin, he had went, and Donnie Ramsey had went. I believe Snag had been, but for the OGs, because they was beyond OG, but they was all co-founders. But as far as the OGs, I was one of the first ones, and then Salt Rock and Bull, Tie Stick, you know, Boss Hog, Trey Deuce, all of them came like a year or two years behind me. So yeah, I joined the Consolidated Crip Organization. I was a sergeant at arms, and in 1982. So a lot of people, they questioned the CCO, and when they started, we established ourselves, up there, and I became known as part of the CCOs, and they started in 82. A lot of people don't. I know I was part of that in 1982. I heard some guys on one of the shows and asking a question, and he was asking some OGs from LA. He said, when did the CCO start? And a lot of them was saying like 85 or 80. I was in, see, that's another conflict, because you from LA, you see, and you saying it's, you don't know when it started, or it started in a later year, and I'm from San Diego. I ain't supposed to know this, and you not, I was a CCO in 1982.
What motivated your decision to join CCO?
Unity and the skills that the brother had at recruiting me. It was all about recruitment, you see, and which I later adopted his same method of recruitment. They made me feel important, and when I came into the place, they came and looking for me. And they came into the unit, and there was two cats, and they had blue rags on their heads and hanging out their pocket. Back then, you could wear your rags. And they was like, what's up? And they was like, hey, man, what's happening? And they introduced themselves to me and was telling me that, that they just do Crips. They was like, we just Crips here. We don't bang on each other, we just Crips. We got a little clique, that we just Crips. And I was like, I like the fact that there's unity and stuff, And they was like, yeah, you need to come to one of our meetings. I was like, oh, I'm cool, and I was like, y'all got anybody from San Diego as part of it? They was like, no, ain't nobody really from you. Like, one of the first cats that we met, that's why we coming at you. We trying to get San Diego, make everybody a part of it. We don't play no favorites on me. I was like, yeah, I'll check you guys out and shit. But it took me a while, and then later on they came for me again about 6 months later. They came at me again, and they start, coming out, they start saying, hey, man, you take a walk with us, man. And I start walking. I will be with the captain and the lieutenant. So now I'm walking the yard with the captain and the lieutenant, and everybody on the yard knew who they was. They was the lieutenant and the captain of a powerful organization, and here I am with them, and people looking at me, hey, and they, just because I'm walking with them, everybody like, kissing my ass now, I'm like, shit, I like this, you know what I'm saying? I like the way it is. Police and everything, man. Police and everything, like, oh, now we got an eye on him, because we know this, and but they had to respect. It was like, oh, hey, they wasn't talking shit to me, calling me Mr. Howard, by my last name and stuff, and that kind of won me over, that feeling of that power and stuff. But it was actually a method of recruitment that I later found out that was intentional, and then I would actually later, I became a ranking member when I was made a sergeant at arms, and I started using that same method on people. I started recruiting people that same way.
So looking back at it and making that decision, how do you look at it now? Do you feel it was something worthwhile doing while you was in there?
When it comes to the whole gang thing, of course, I mean, I don't celebrate that now in any type of way, these conversations that I have with you, I have a problem having these conversations without putting a positive note at the end of all of it, or without letting the audience know what I stand for now. And it's not that, I'm totally pro-black. I don't, a lot of things in my life that did occur, I learned from, and being a part of these organizations and learning the loyalty that was involved in that, and the pledge that we made, and the loyalty and all of that, that shit really stuck with me. and I was a part of an era that really placed emphasis on honor and loyalty. So I kept that in my heart even after I transpired from the gang life. It's still a quality that I have and that I uphold, you know.